It's time for another harsh review. Today's game will be one that I'm sure that most people were initially excited for when it was announced, but as the years have went on, the excitement for the game has probably gone relatively down. So today we're going to be talking about the first Switch Mario Party being Super Mario Party. What was once seen as the game to bring the series back to what made it good, Super Mario Party was the first game in a long time that gave us normal boards that didn't have us in cars, or that only had us going on a grid to get to the next thing that we needed to get to. We had actual boards, new and repurposed items, and the ability to choose out of 20 different characters. But like we've done for the Mario Parties in the past for this series, we're going to be looking at the minigames, boards, items, extra modes, and everything else that we would look at for the experience of this game. Alright, with that all out of the way, let's begin the harsh review for Super Mario Party. Starting off, we're going to be talking about the minigames. There's a good variety of them across the game, with us having our usual 4-player 2v2s and 1v3s, but this game also gives us team minigames, which allow us to have characters that we have collected on the boards to help us in them, co-op minigames, which have everybody working together in them, which is only really used for one mode, and rhythm minigames, which obviously are rhythm-based, and again, only really used for one mode. This game, unlike most Mario parties, also uses motion controls for a decent amount of the minigames, which had them make us have to use a single Joy-Con to play the game, which we'll talk about in a later section. So of course, when it comes to the minigames, so long as it's fun, it usually gets the point, but in this game, I have some things different than usual. The one button mashing minigame will not be getting the point, and there are just some of them here that feel way too boring. Rumble Fishing, Don't Wake Wiggler, Just for Kicks, and Metal Detectors all make me just want to jump while my ceiling fan is at the highest speed, just to see how it would feel, because honestly, that would seem more fun. So yeah, when it comes to the minigames, here are the ones that I seem worthy to get the point, which brings the minigame section to a 65 out of 84 points. Next up, let's talk about the boards. Before we look into each board separately, we need to have a talk about the elephant in the room. In this game, the boards are much smaller than usual, whereas most of the older Mario parties have about an average between 65 to 95 spaces per board. Here, the average is about 46 spaces. Now, that is because the normal dice is only 1 to 6 instead of 1 to 10, but I feel like a good amount of us feel that having that 1 to 10 dice with a little bit of a bigger area just feels better than having just a 1 to 6. Now, onto the boards, starting with Whomp's Domino Ruins. This is your completely basic board with nothing too out there in terms of events or pathings. I am shocked though that the item shops are so close to each other in the board. Now, there are a lot of item spaces, but to have the two main places to get items only 7 spaces away from each other just kind of feels off. I feel like the item shop that's closer to the start of the board could have been better if it was where the paratroopa is that takes you to another player. And the one that's at the bottom left had an item space there, and then the item space that's on the other path had the item shop put there instead. I just feel like that would have made it a little better. Other than that, the board is fine. Like I said, nothing really too out there, but also nothing that really makes it bad either. So Whomp's Domino Ruins will be getting a 2.5 out of 5. The next board is King Bob-omb's Powdered Keg Mine. The big thing about this board is King Bob-omb. He's in the middle of the board and he will blow up and take away half of the coins of anybody who is in that middle part when anybody lands on the event spaces in the middle 5 times. There's also spots on the top right and bottom left that will take you to the other spot if you happen to land on the spaces that they're next to, which can help when it comes to traversing the board. There's also a couple blocks of gold on the left side that you can try to get coins from, but if you end up being too greedy, then you're really not going to get anything at all. I do like where most things are on this board. Each path has something that you'd potentially want to get, well, aside from the bomb at the top, but even then, he's just another buddy to have around you, well, till, you know. But still, it's a very solid board, so King Bob-omb's Powdered Keg Mine is going to get a 4 out of 5. Up next, we have Mega Fruit Paradise. Initially, when this game came out, this was the board that I ended up enjoying the most. between the islands and the fruits as the setting, and the interesting things like the shop on the pineapple island, which after a few people pass it, it gives it that chance to never be used again based on a wheel spin. And then we have the event on the watermelon island, which once 2 people land on it, it gives that second person a free star. However, as time went on, things started to irk me more and more about it. First, we have the way to get across the islands with the bridge with Blooper in the back, and then the sand bridge in the front, which can send you back to start easily, or just completely not allow you to go across at all when it comes to the sand bridge. Also, we have the pipes that bring you to the adjacent islands on the top or bottom, and unlike boards in the past with ideas like this one, where you either have to make it to the end of the island to travel to the next one, or you land on one of the somewhat plentiful happening spaces, here, there's only 2 per island, so you have to get pretty lucky when it comes to the front 2 islands, or you have to land on the bridge in one of the back 2 islands, and just hope that you can actually get to the side that you want to get to. Overall, it's a nice board to look at, and I do have my fun with it, so Mega Fruit Paradise is going to be getting a 3 out of 5. Now on to the final board, which is Kamek's Tantalizing Tower. This is the one board in the game that's a little different in the fact that the star will always be at the end of the path, and it changes prices after either somebody buys a star or lands on the event space that is right before the star location. There's a few things on the board like your normal shop, a shop that forces you to buy one of the 3 items, and if 2 of the 3 items are bought, you have to buy the remaining one. There's also an event space on the left side, which if you happen to land on it, it will bring you to Lakitu, which is like Boo, to where you could either steal coins or a star from somebody. But aside from that, it's really just a small board that's mostly linear with just a couple of diverging paths. It may be gold, but I'm going to be giving Kamek's Tantalizing Tower a 3 out of 5. Before we head over to the items, I do want to say that when it comes to a Mario Party, there should be at bare minimum 5 boards. So because this game only has 4, I'm going to be removing a point at the end. Also, when we get to another game in this series, trust me, there will be more points removed in that one. Now let's go talk about the items. First up, we're going to be talking about the items that are available either in the main mode or both the main mode and partner party. In this, we have 9 items, which are the Dash Mushroom, Poison Mushroom, Golden Dash Mushroom, Golden Pipe, Poinado, Ally Phone, Custom Dice Block, Fly Guy Ticket, and Hidden Block Card. Overall, a decent selection of items with some changing from what they used to be, and of course new ones. Instead of a mushroom or a golden mushroom adding dice onto your roll, now you get a specified amount of spaces added to your roll. The one item that I think was oversimplified though is the Custom Dice Block. Instead of having to time your roll, now you just get to pick whatever number you want, which takes some skill out of the item. Some amazing moments can come from when somebody is trying to use this and then they just happen to miss their number by 1. It allows them to learn the timing instead of just having the game kind of hand them whatever space they happen to want to land on. One of the big new items that we got, however, is the Hidden Block Card. That allows you to spawn a hidden block as you use it. It could be a star, could be coins, but it's completely random. While we're on the topic of the hidden blocks, I do want to mention though that I really wish that they didn't have the wheel there that makes it look like you can time it. If you're gonna have it be random, just let it be random. But now let's talk about the items that are only in the partner party. We have the Golden Drink, Peepa Bell, Warp Box, Dueling Glove, and Double Card. Honestly, when it comes to these, the last 3 are things that I would expect to be in the normal mode, but I can understand not wanting to add something like the warp because some of the boards do have that place with the paratrooper where you can warp with others, and I guess the other 2 they probably didn't want because maybe they didn't want them to be too powerful in the main mode. Overall though, the items are relatively solid, so I'm going to give the item section a 7 out of 10. Finally, let's talk about the extra modes and overall experience. First, we'll start off with the thing that we've kind of already talked about, being partner party. This mode allows you to team up with another player and go on the boards, but as a grid instead of how it normally is. So think of playing together on the board, but the board is from Star Rush. Each of these have their own unique events that are similar to the ones on the normal versions, but can sometimes contain bigger rewards like a star or maybe even 2. Toadette will appear on a random space on each of the boards, while you have to roll that specific number to land on that space to be able to get the star. Next up, we have a couple of smaller modes in River Survival and Soundstage. These are the modes that have you playing the co-op and rhythm minigames. First, in River Survival, you'll go down a river and play minigames to get extra time so you can make it to the end of the path with your friends. In Soundstage, you play 3 rhythm games to see who can do the best at keeping in time with each of the minigames. There's also a single player mode called Challenge Road, which is like the Minigame Island or Minigame Coaster from Mario Parties 1 and 2, where you play through the minigames in order to complete it. The final mode that we have is Toad's Rec Room, which has a couple of smaller minigames where they want you to connect your switches with others to play off of them against each other. Now, let's talk about my biggest issue with this game. I know they wanted to have motion controls be a part of this game, but if that forces us to only use one Joy-Con, I don't really like that. There's a decent amount of minigames that don't feel all too good because you have to try and press relatively small buttons on an already small controller. I feel like they probably could have figured out a way to have the motion controls work, but on pro controllers as well. But going on to something a little more positive, this game has the biggest character roster in any Mario Party game, like I said at the very beginning of the video, with 20 characters. We have our usuals, but we also have characters like Bowser, Goomba, Monty Mole, and both of the main Kongs with Donkey and Diddy. Each character also has their own dice block that's unique to them, which, if I'm being honest, another thing that I really don't care for. In a game that is full of BS and random luck, I don't want certain characters to just be more viable to use than potentially a favorite. Let's just say that maybe one day I wanted to use Goomba, but of course I see that some characters just have much better chances of getting better numbers, so when I want to use them, it just doesn't feel worth it to use the character that doesn't have a really good dice when there's better options. When it comes to dice, I'd rather them just keep it simple. The final thing, though, that we have to talk about is the online. It was almost completely bare bones when the game initially came out. All you could do was one little minigame mode. That was it. After 3 years, they released it to where you could play with others online and an actual board. But when they implemented it, if you happen to accidentally disconnect, if anyone disconnected, the entire game would be gone. Since Super Mario Party is one of the longer games in the series to play through any turn, I don't think a lot of people are very happy. If you happen to play through even a 10-turn game, you get to turn 9 and everything just crashes, and then you can't continue from where you were. I don't think anybody has fun with that. So, with that all out of the way, this section will be getting 13 out of 20 points. So, with all the points added up, we have 97.5 out of 134. If we subtract the 1 point from before about there only being 4 boards, then it's 96.5 out of 134, which ends up being a 7.2 out of 10. For our first attempt to bringing Mario Party back to its roots, it does a good job, but it just ends up flopping in certain areas where it really shouldn't. Now, like with every harsh review, we're going to head over to the tier list, where Super Mario Party will be going into C tier above Mario Galaxy 1. Like I said in the Mario Party 9 video, this just isn't a sentence that I ever expected to say out loud. But that is going to end the video. What ranking would you guys give this game? Let me know down in the comments below. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next one.